The morning I closed on the old Henderson farm, I stood at the edge of my new property and breathed in the sweet smell of freedom. 23 acres of rolling hills, a century-old farmhouse that needed work, and best of all, no HOA. After 15 years of living under the tyrannical rule of the Meadowbrook Estates Homeowners Association, I was finally free. The farm sat just outside the HOA boundaries, separated from the manicured suburbs by a winding country road and about half a mile of open land. I could see the edge of Meadowbrook from my front porch. Those identical beige houses with their regulation shrubs and approved mailbox colors. I'd lived in one of those houses until last month, and I'd never looked back. I was unloading furniture from my truck when I heard the distinctive click-clack of heels on gravel. I turned to see Patricia Moreland marching up my driveway like a general inspecting enemy territory. Patricia was the president of the Meadowbrook HOA, a position she wielded like a weapon. Her blonde hair was pulled back, so tight it looked painful, and her lips were pressed into their usual thin line of disapproval. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "This property is in violation of multiple HOA regulations." I set down the box I was carrying and wiped my hands on my jeans. "Hello, Patricia. Nice to see you, too. Don't be cute, Daniel." She pulled out a tablet from her designer purse, her manicured nails tapping against the screen. "I've documented at least 7 violations from the road. That fence is the wrong color. Your mailbox doesn't meet our standards, and those vehicles," she gestured at my truck and my old Jeep, "are not approved models." I couldn't help but smile. "Patricia, I don't live in Meadowbrook Estates anymore. I'm outside the HOA boundaries. You have no authority here." Her face flushed pink. "That's ridiculous. This entire area falls under our jurisdiction." "No, it doesn't." I pulled out my phone and showed her the property survey. "See this red line? That's where your HOA ends. I'm a quarter mile outside it. I checked very carefully before I bought this place." Patricia's eyes narrowed as she studied the survey. I could see her mind working, searching for any loophole or technicality. There must be some mistake. I'll have our attorney review this. "You do that," I said calmly. "But right now, you're trespassing on my property. I'd appreciate it if you'd leave." She looked like I'd slapped her. In all the years I'd known Patricia, no one had ever told her to leave anywhere. She was used to people cowering, apologizing, paying fines. "How dare you?" she sputtered. "After everything the HOA has done for this community, everything the HOA has done," I let out a bitter laugh. "Patricia, you fined me $300 because my grass was 2 inches taller than regulation. You made Mrs. Chun take down her bird feeders because they weren't aesthetically consistent. You forced the Johnsons to repaint their house after their daughter died because they missed the annual painting deadline by 2 weeks. Rules are rules," Patricia said coldly. "Without them, we'd have chaos. We'd have this." She gestured at my property with disgust. I looked around at my beautiful, imperfect farm. The fence did need painting. The barn was weathered and old. There were wildflowers growing where a suburban lawn might be. It was glorious. "Yeah," I said, "we would have this. And you know what? I'm going to love every minute of it." Patricia's face went from pink to red. "You'll regret this, Daniel. You're setting a terrible example for the community. People will see this disaster and think they can just do whatever they want." "They can," I said. "That's the point." She spun on her heel and stalked back toward the road, but not before turning to deliver one final threat. "This isn't over." I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 3 days later, I was repairing the fence when a county inspector's truck pulled up. The inspector, a tired-looking man named Bill, climbed out with a clipboard. "Got a complaint about unpermitted structures," he said apologetically. "Mind if I take a look around?" "Not at all," I said. "But everything here is grandfathered in. The barn's been here since 1924, and I have all the paperwork." Bill spent an hour walking the property. When he came back, he shook his head. "Everything looks fine to me. Whoever called this and wasted everybody's time." "Let me guess," I said. "Was it Patricia Moreland?" Bill's expression confirmed it. "Can't say officially, but be prepared. When someone files one complaint, They usually file more. He was right. Over the next 2 weeks, I had visits from the health department. Someone claimed I was running an illegal sewage system, animal control, a report of dangerous livestock that turned out to be my 3 chickens, and the fire marshal, concerns about the structural integrity of my 100-year-old barn, which had just passed inspection. Each time, the officials found nothing wrong. Each time, I knew exactly who had made the complaint. Then Patricia escalated. I was working in my garden when I heard cars pulling up. I looked up to see 3 vehicles parking at the edge of my property. Patricia's Mercedes, along with 2 others I recognized from the HOA board. Patricia emerged with measuring tape and a camera, followed by her Vice President Karen Dutton and Treasurer Mark Wheeler. "What are you doing?" I called out, documenting. Patricia said crisply. She stretched the measuring tape from the road toward my property line. "I believe your fence is encroaching on county land. That's illegal." I walked over, trying to keep my temper in check. "Patricia, that fence has been there for 80 years. It's on my property survey." "Surveys can be wrong," she said smugly. "Mark, take pictures of everything." Karen was walking along my fence line, peering at my property with binoculars. "I can see code violations from here," she announced. "That shed doesn't look permitted." "It was built in 1947, I said, before permits were required. "We'll let the county decide that," Patricia said. She was practically glowing with satisfaction. That's when I noticed what Mark was doing. He had a drone controller in his hands, and a small drone was hovering over my property, camera pointing down. "Bring that down now," I said firmly. "You're flying over my property without permission." "Airspace is public," Mark said smugly. "Not for surveillance, it isn't." I pulled out my phone and started recording. "You're using a drone to invade my privacy on private property. That's illegal. Bring it down or I'm calling the sheriff." Patricia stepped forward, her face twisted with rage. "You have no right to threaten us. We're protecting our community from your blight." "Your community?" I gestured toward Meadowbrook in the distance. "I'm not in your community. Patricia, I left. I'm free of your rules, your fines, your constant harassment. And you can't stand it, can you? You can't stand that someone escaped. You're nothing but a selfish, entitled little man." Patricia was shouting now, her composure completely shattered. "You think you're so special because you bought this dump? You're an eyesore, a disgrace. I will make sure you regret ever." "Okay, that's enough," said a new voice. We all turned to see Sheriff Tom Bradley pulling up in his patrol car. He climbed out slowly, taking in the scene. "Mrs. Moreland," he said, "we've talked about this." Patricia's expression shifted instantly, switching to a charming smile. "Sheriff Bradley, thank goodness you're here. This man has been—" "I got a call about harassment and illegal drone surveillance." Tom interrupted. He looked at Mark. "Bring the drone down, sir. Now." Mark complied, his face sullen. Tom turned to me. "Daniel, you okay?" "I am now," I said. "This is the 3rd time this week they've been on or near my property." Tom sighed and pulled out his notebook. "Mrs. Moreland, I'm going to say this once. Mr. Harris's property is outside your HOA boundaries. You have no authority here. If you continue to harass him, trespass, or file false reports, I will charge you. Do you understand?" Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. For the first time since I'd known her, she had no response. "Do you understand?" Tom repeated more firmly. "Yes," Patricia finally whispered. "Good. Now all of you need to leave this property and not come back unless you're invited." I watched them drive away, Patricia's Mercedes kicking up dust as she fled. Tom stayed behind, leaning against his car. "She's been calling the county about you constantly," he said. "I wanted to warn you earlier, but I figured you knew." "I suspected," I said. "Thanks for coming." "Some people can't stand to see others happy," Tom said, shaking his head. "Especially when that happiness comes from walking away from something they've built their whole identity around." After Tom left, I stood on my porch and looked out at my property. The fence was crooked in places. The barn needed new shingles. The house was a never-ending renovation project, and it was perfect. My phone buzzed. It was a message from my old neighbor in Meadowbrook, Greg Martinez. Heard what happened. You're a legend. 3 more families are looking at properties outside the HOA. Patricia is having a meltdown at the clubhouse. I smiled and put my phone away. Freedom, I realized, wasn't just about escaping the rules. It was about remembering that you never needed permission to live your life in the first place. Patricia had spent so long controlling others that she'd forgotten one simple truth. Her authority only existed because people chose to live under it. I chose differently. As the sun set over my imperfect, beautiful farm, I cracked open a beer and sat on my porch. In the distance, I could see the lights coming on in Meadowbrook, each house illuminated at exactly the approved time. Out here, I'd turn my lights on when I damn well pleased.